Good evening, everybody. It's the pollinator. And I'm just going to be winging it tonight. Um, until I figure out how YouTube, how to put subscribe stuff in this window. If you like my content and you want to see when I make vlogs and upload them to YouTube, and I may make videos. Who knows? I may dance again. I'm having a hard time with my feet, so I might not do that. But anyway, if you want to get notifications of my vlogs, you need to subscribe and to click the bell. Click the bell. So, yesterday was my 35th anniversary of being clean and sober. And I would have made a vlog yesterday, but I was feeling all kinds of ways. I was happy, I was grateful, I was sad about something that happened in therapy yesterday, and so I was just all over the place. I was in no condition to make a vlog. So here I am today doing so, and look what I got from some people at on Google Plus, who were gracious enough to send me a little present for my 35th birthday. Love you. Thank you. So, I guess right now I'm reflecting. 35 years is a long time. I've been clean and sober longer than some of you have been alive on this planet. And for those who don't know, I am 60 years old. I'll be 61 in September. And I was 26 years old when I got clean and sober. I don't know if I've told this story before. I may have in some of my earlier vlogs. But God works in mysterious ways. I actually showed up to my first 12-step program meeting because I was pissed off that I got put on hold by, I think, the NA hotline. I'm not quite sure. It was some suicide hotline or some kind of hotline. I knew I had a problem with drugs. And so I dumped them. I went cold turkey off of cocaine. And I had done a whole heck of a lot of other drugs before that was my final drug of choice. And so I stopped buying cocaine and snorting it up my nose. All of the hairs in my nose were gone. But I switched to alcohol. Well, I drink alcohol anyway, but not with the, not like I did drugs. That alcohol was not my drug of choice, but it was what I chose in the end. And yes, so I was pissed off. I had no idea what 12-step programs were. In my head, going to an AA meeting, I expected to see homeless, dirty people, gutter alcoholics, sitting all in a room, drinking together with bottles of liquor in trench coats. I mean, that was how clueless I was, and how incredibly naive and ignorant I was about anything about 12-step programs. But anyway, I got pissed off that I got put on hold, and so I was going to find the person who put me on hold. For all I knew at the time, I thought there was one meeting, in all of the Bay Area, and I was going to go there to find that lady and tell her a thing or two. That's why I say God works in mysterious ways. He used my temperament to get me there. And I did not believe in God when I first showed up in 12-step programs. In fact, I was agnostic. I didn't believe and I didn't disbelieve. I knew there was a power greater than myself, but I just had no idea what it was. I stopped going to church in the latter 1960s or 1970s, something like that. So I had no power greater than myself. And I remember well, I did end up going to an NA meeting. My girlfriend at the time took me and dropped me off, and I just didn't get a good feeling out of that meeting. So after it was done, she came and picked me up, and I said, I'm never going back to anything like that again. So so there was this lady at my job, and I was taking 2-hour lunch breaks and going across the street. There was a mall right next to the building that I worked in. And I would go over there in various restaurants in that mall and drink my lunch and come back so drunk that I couldn't even see my monitor. I could not see my computer. But I sat there and pretended like I was doing something. But there was a lady at my job who I had to do things with, and there was a light about her. There was just something about her that just piqued my curiosity. And one time I went to her office, she was under her desk. And I came through the door and noticed her moving down under there, and I'm looking like, the fuck? And she was just sitting under her desk laughing. And I thought, I don't think I asked her what was she doing under her desk and why was she down there so happy. But I didn't ask her, I just waited for her to come out from under there, and then we did whatever we were supposed to, whatever we were tasked to do. I did mention this, didn't I? Some ladies in Google Plus. Anyway, they gave this to me for my birthday. The only present I got this year, aside from a chip I ordered. At any rate, I kept being attracted to this woman's energy. And one day, I asked her, I told her, you're very different around here. She was I think she was a programmer, and I was a hardware guy. But we worked on the same floor, and I don't even remember anymore why I got to interact with that lady. But I asked her why she was so different, and she seemed so happy, and I was so miserable. I didn't tell her I was miserable, but I was miserable. Sometimes toward the end, I would be in the bathroom crying and just depressed. I hated my life. I hated myself. I did not like that I was addicted to substances. And so she told me, I'm glad you asked me that. And I was like, uh-oh. What's she getting ready to say? And she said, well, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, oh. She said, and I've been watching you. I was like, oh. I mean, I'm sure my eyes got real big. And I was like, oh my God. Somebody has noticed me around here, and this woman says she's in AA. So what is it that she noticed? She didn't waste much time inviting me to a meeting, and I immediately said, no, thank you, and went back to my office. So, but I continued to have to interact with her for some reason. So I ended up back in her office, and every time I was in there, she would invite me to an AA meeting, and I would say no. So, I think one time I said no. I left her office, went to the bathroom across the hallway, and went into one of the stalls and just sat there and cried. Maybe I was a little bit embarrassed that somebody actually knew I was drinking on the job. And another part of me was just miserable. And so so one day she asked me if I wanted to go, and I said yes. And she hugged me, which, look, back then I don't like nobody touching me, okay? And so that surprised me, and I don't even know if I hugged her back, but she hugged me and said, okay, well, the meeting is on Monday night at 8 o'clock. She said, so you want me to come pick you up? And I said, no. I'll give me the address and I'll drive there myself. Because in my head I was thinking, if I didn't like this shit, I wanted a way out. And if I went with her and she didn't want to leave, I would be stuck there with these weirdos. Excuse me. I had all sorts of judgments in my head about what was going to happen. And so I, made this plan that I had an escape route, that I would drive myself and I could leave if I didn't like it. Because all that came to my mind was that NA meeting. And that particular NA meeting I went to, there were a lot of people who had just gotten out of prison. There was a lot of hookers. There was pimps. There was all sorts of people like that at that meeting. And I could not relate to that at that time. I could have related to that when I was in my latter teens, when I was just running amok. But of course, I had to find a reason to distance myself from what I saw there and said, no, I'm not like that. Give me more opportunities, drink more, right? So, so the meeting was in a church. It was a gay meeting. And she was too. And I think I knew that about her before she started inviting me to the meeting. And so I showed up. And there were a lot of people gathered around outside that church. And I was like, this isn't what I expected. And everybody was well dressed. They smelled good. They were all smiling. Everybody was hugging each other. They were all talking. And I was, noticing this as I walked up to the building, up this sidewalk. I'll never forget what that church looked like. The layout of the church and the sidewalk I had to, it was just like a ramp. Well, there was stairs over here, but there was a ramp over to the left. And I took the ramp up to the church, and the woman was there that invited me. I don't remember her name, but she was there, and she saw me and came up and all happy and gave me another hug, which I cringed. But she gave me a hug, and then everybody moved inside, and I went inside and sat next to her. I don't think I heard a word. All I know was that the energy in that room was so happy and so peaceful. And every time a newcomer stood up, everybody went hog wild shit mad, clapping for these new people. They called them newcomers. There was over 100. There was a big meeting, so there was about 100 people in that meeting. And I just was very taken by the love and the camaraderie that I was seeing in there. But I didn't hear anything. I wasn't listening. I still didn't think I had that kind of problem. I was like, nah, I'm not an alcoholic, you know. And I had pushed being a drug addict in the back of my mind, so I still wasn't convinced that that's what was happening to me. So after the meeting was over, though, I jetted out that door. I didn't want to hang around and talk to anybody. And she thanked me for coming, and then I left. And I didn't think I heard anything. I didn't think I heard anything. But the next 2 weeks, or a week, I think, throughout that entire week, every time I drank something, every time I drank alcohol, I started remembering things I actually did hear in that meeting, which made me drink even more to drown out my thoughts, to drown out what I was hearing in there. Because, you know, people tell their stories, people talk about where they are today or whatever. They talk about, well, if you're not an alcoholic and you've never been to a meeting, you wouldn't know, but it's just a lot of sharing out loud. So that entire week was just torture for me to drink and remember things that I heard in the meetings, in that meeting, and have to drink more until I was drunk enough that I wasn't thinking anymore. I was anesthetized. And so it was a rest. Okay, so my lover and I decided we were going to a restaurant called La Posada. I loved that restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant in the Bay Area. And we went to La Posada on Sunday night. And we went in and we got a table, we got seated, and I immediately ordered a drink. And my favorite drink the last alcohol that I had was Bacardi and Coke. Only Bacardi. I don't like the regular rum, but Bacardi rum. And so I ordered a drink, and I proceeded to sit there and drink it. But I had this, I don't know if I had a funny look on my face or something, but she said, you know, what's wrong? And I said, nothing's wrong. But what was really going on was, you know, as I drank that drink, the stuff in the meetings kept coming. That meeting kept coming back to my head. So before I got the drink, and then we ordered the food, and I ordered another drink. And the first drink I drank down really fast. The second drink I was drinking a little slower because the food showed up. And then I drank one during that meal. And then after that meal, I ordered another one. So I was on my way to getting smashed. But I couldn't drown out my thoughts. Not that night. And she kept looking at me. She kept looking at me and questioning why I looked so, I don't know what the look was that I had. But it was something that she saw that she said, you know, something's wrong with you. I don't know what it is, but, and I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't tell her. So we started to get up to leave to go pay for the food, or for me to go pay for the food. And there was still some alcohol left in the glass. But she wanted to go, so I got up and we started to go, but I kept making a move back to the table to finish that drink. I mean, why waste good alcohol, right? Like a good little alcoholic that I was. And believe in leaving anything in the glass. So I made a move back to the table, and then I turned around before I got to the table, turned around and went back towards her. And I did that 2 times before I finally walked away. And that was the last day that I had a drop of alcohol or any kind of drug or anything. That the next day I made my sobriety date, which was, guess what, a Monday. So I decided that night, because of that little activity that was going on in that restaurant, that I was going to go back to that meeting. And that was May 22nd, 1983, the night that we were at La Posada. So I went back to that meeting that next Monday. And, oh, I forgot to say, the first time I was there, when the newcomers were standing up and saying their name and that they were an alcoholic, I got up and said my name, but I sat back down. I didn't say nothing about being no alcoholic. But that Monday, May 23rd, 1983, I was 26 years old. I stood up at the beginning of that meeting when they were announcing who's a newcomer. I stood up and said my name and that I was an alcoholic, and sat down. The outpouring of love, all of the cheering, all of the people whistling, all of the smiles, I knew I was home. And I've not drank since. I started a very rigorous program. From that day forward, I was asking people, what do you do? What do you do? And, they told me to get a sponsor, get you a big book, get you a 12 by 12, start reading it, and start looking around for somebody who you like what they say when they're speaking, and ask them to be your sponsor. So I did. The first two, I think, that I asked were very cute women. Had nothing to do with me liking anything they said. It had to do with how they looked. And of course I blew those. No, those two blew me off because they caught on to what I really wanted them for. Which was not to work the program, but was probably to, have sex with them. So I finally got serious about getting a sponsor, and who put me on a very stringent regimen. I think it was this trash mouth. What do they call those? Oh my God, I'm forgetting. She was a trash mouth nun. She was an ex-nun. And she was an older lady. I wasn't attracted to her in the least because she didn't look any kind of way, kind of a woman that I liked. And so I had started going to different kinds of meetings besides gay meetings. And I think I met her in one. So I asked her to be my sponsor, and she said, okay. And she put me on this really rigorous path. Okay, you will go to this kind of meeting, that kind of meeting. They had step study meetings. They had big book meetings. They had open speaker meetings. They had open meetings, and then they had mixed meetings. And I could still go to the gay meeting that I went to. And I was ready to change the way that I felt. Yes, I have said this before, that I wanted to feel the way all these people looked in those meetings. And I knew I didn't feel that way. I was mad. I didn't like people hugging me. Ew. But you know what? They hugged me until I became the biggest huggy bear in that place. I don't remember how long it took, but they just kept hugging on me, and they kept loving me no matter how mad I came in there, no matter how crazy I sounded, no matter what. That was the closest thing to the unconditional love I got from my mother, was the unconditional love I got from members of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I just kept going back. And I did not like the word God, which was used a lot. But that nun told me, you know what? Sit on your hands if you have to, but don't leave the meeting until it's over. Because I complained about it. I said, what is this? Is this like church? Is this a religious thing? She said, no, it's not. Read the book. I mean, I was so coachable that I was willing to do anything my sponsor told me to do. I had to call her every day, I had to check in every day. I had to read out of the books. I had to go to meetings. I went to 14 meetings a week for the first 5 years of my sobriety. I fell in love with it. After a while, I did it because I wanted to do it versus because she told me to do it. But I kept firing sponsors because I got in a relationship with a lady, and it was a tumultuous, dysfunctional relationship. And I would be complaining and whining about her to my sponsors, and my sponsors would give me an ultimatum that either I get rid of her or get rid of them. So guess who I got rid of? Them. So I had quite a few sponsors, and I also had one who had something like, he had an enormous amount of sobriety. I think at the time, like 20, 30 years, which I thought was not even possible. But I liked the way this guy talked. I liked the way he carried himself. I liked where his life was at. He was married, and he had children, and I just liked everything about him. And he was just as tough, if not tougher than that nun. He also got to study with Emmett Fox, which I was impressed about that because somehow I got my hands on one of his books, I think Sermon on the Mount. And I read that on the way to a ski trip to Lake Tahoe. And once I picked that book up, I couldn't put it down until I read through the whole thing. It really touched me. And then I run into this guy. God works in mysterious ways. How the heck? Bay Area is a huge place. How the heck I ran into a guy that studied with the very man that wrote those books was a miracle. And I've had a lot of miracles in my life, and I've also been in very, very dark places in my life. But no matter what, because of all of the years I spent in Alcoholics Anonymous, no matter what happened, I didn't drink and I didn't use over it. I learned how to have healthy emotions. I learned coping skills. I learned how to change my thinking. I learned, and God revealed himself to me. So I went from agnostic to being a believer. But I still did not believe in the Christian type of God that a lot of people do. I didn't go to church. But I met a lot of incredible people, and I've had a lot of incredible friends. One of them still checks in with me from time to time, who was my best friend for many years in Alcoholics Anonymous until I left California. But we still communicate, not real frequently, but I think maybe once a year I hear from her, or I'll check in with her too. But I turned a 180 I'm not sure, not in my life, because my life kind of sort of looked okay at the time I got clean and sober, but my insights were messed up. Stinking thinking, alcohol affects you mind, body, and spirit, and all three of those things were screwed up in me. To the point where I think the cocaine had an effect on my heart. And in 1993, I had a heart procedure. I had an extra AV node or something like that would make my heart beat out of control. And I had that procedure 3 months before I lost my mother in 1993. And even through that, losing my mom, who was my best friend, who was my cheerleader, who was the proudest peacock on the planet when it came to me. And I think that's why I miss her so much. My relationship with my father has always been broken, and he fathers just don't have the same kind of connection. Well, I won't say all fathers, some fathers, maybe even most fathers. They just don't feel the same because they don't birth you. Your mother births you. And the moms seem to be the ones that do or die, they love you. Although I've heard differently, out there, especially in the transgender world, that, their mothers kicked them to the curb or they got kicked out of the house or whatever. I actually got kicked out of the house for being a lesbian, but not by my mother, by my father. But my mom was the best. She was like a magnet. She had so many friends and so many people that loved her that we all took care of her before she passed away. We went in shifts to the hospital. Yeah, there were people with her 24 hours a day, except for the night she passed away. For some reason, I don't know what that was about, but for some reason she was alone, and for a long time I felt very guilty that I left that night. There was a lady, one of my exes was there, who tried to encourage me to spend the night with her the night she passed away, but I didn't know she was leaving, so I didn't. And I was actually sitting at my desk in my condo that I had purchased, doing something on my computer when the call came in. And because it was 3:30 in the morning, I don't remember if there was caller ID or not, but I had an answering machine on my phone, and I didn't answer the phone. And so I sat there and listened to her. I'm not sure what they call cancer specialists. But anyway, I sat there listening to him tell me that she was gone at 3:30 in the morning. I've always been a night owl. That was a very devastating time for me for a very long time. And what happened and everything after that will be in my autobiography. If I can get the damn thing published. People are playing games with that, which I may or may not put on my other channel, but I'm not being taken seriously with this. I'm not being taken seriously, and people are winning huge sums of money to get my book edited and published. I do not have an agent, so I'm having to be my own. I do not have a publicist, so I'm having to be that. And I don't know anything about any of it except I'm smart. And so I pick up on things, and I'm hesitant, and I ask a lot of questions, and if they don't answer them, then I become suspicious of them. But I've had people tell me I'm nobody, I'm an unknown, and all this stuff, and it's all bullshit. It's just another way to keep a black man down. And by telling me I'm nobody, they know that's that could have an effect on me. But I know I am somebody, and I am just unknown to the public, to the general public. My family knows, my friends know, women who have been with me know who I am. So I'm not an unknown. They're just playing games and using that as an excuse to say, you know what, we got the power and you won't have to pay to get it. But, my therapist said, you may get 100 no's before you get a yes, as far as somebody who's willing to take me under their wing and get this friggin' book published. Book 1 anyway. And I'm probably going to have to start working on book 2 because it looks like this is going to take a while. In the meanwhile, in all of my videos, people, if they look in the description of my videos, you're going to notice a PayPal link. So what I'm asking, and it doesn't, there's no pressure whatsoever for you to do anything, but any kind of donation you could make to me to help me get my book published, to help me just survive all of this until I can find an editor, and a publisher and perhaps a literary agent. Anything you can do to help, I'd appreciate it. If you don't, that's okay too. One thing that I have learned in Alcoholics Anonymous was to I'm probably as ornery and hyper and quick to smack you and put you in your place than I am. I'm one of the most lovable, non-judgmental people that I know because of Alcoholics Anonymous, where those people did not ever judge me. You know, they told me right and wrong, and they were stern with me, but they did not judge. And so neither do I. So if you don't, I'm not going to judge you. And if you do, I'm just going to sing your praises in my head. So you will see the link to the pollinator in the description of these vlogs, every single one of them. I'm not going to tell you how much money these people are asking for, but it's a lot. I don't want to scare anybody and pressure anybody into thinking that they need to do that. But if you like my content and you appreciate what I do for you, in the many vlogs that I make, feel free to go for it. I would certainly be grateful, because I got a lot of ground to make up if I'm going to find somebody to get these books published. I'm not a journalist, okay? For me to learn how to write like a journalist is going to probably add another year to me getting this book published. And so it needs a lot of editing, and I have to pay for that editing. But you know what? God has been performing miracles all of my life, and he's going to perform one for this too. I just have to be patient. I have to practice everything that I've been taught, because I'm excited to want to share my story with the world. I've been reading other people's autobiographies, Janet Mock, one of Malcolm X's daughters, just to see their writing style and to see their story, you know, as they have written it. It's taking me a while to read those books because they're on my computer only. So I'm usually doing a lot of other things while I'm on my computer, but I'll get through those books and I'll catch on to something because God led me to read those books, those two authors. And there may be others when it's all said and done, other books that I read as a result of trying to get mine out there. I have a story to tell no matter what these publishers are saying to me. I know it. My family knows it. My friends know it. My exes know it. They all know it because they know how I am and they know who I am. I'm just as transparent with other people as I am in these vlogs because of my training as a public speaker that taught me and trained me to be fully self-expressed. You can't even go out with me without having something outrageous happen. Ask my best friend. Well, I'm not going to tell you who he is, but I know that man is just, he's like this whenever he goes out with me because I'm outrageous. And I do outrageous things. And I say outrageous things, and it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I don't get embarrassed easily. And all of that happened through my training as a public speaker, which that's going to be a lot of fun to show the world, too. How I got through all that. I trained for that for over a year. So, okay, another long video, but hey, it's my birthday, and I will do that if I want to, and, you know, all that shit. I'm also goofy. I'm a big kid. I just wanted to share my special day with you, even though I did not share it yesterday. I'm sharing it with you today. And, God bless everybody who has been put in my life for one reason or the other. Some of them are my chosen family and have chosen me to be their father, their daddy, their pops, their uncle, their big brother. And then other ones are mine. And then I've got a lot of family and a lot of friends who just, that's why I know I'm somebody. That wouldn't happen if I was nobody. And I was shy and I was afraid to open my mouth and I was afraid to make friends and all of the stuff I was taught before the internet. Okay, you guys are crippled that the only way that you know how to make friends is through the internet. No. You need real friends in your life. People you hang out with, people you call on the phone. And, I go to black groups here that are cisgender and transgender. Some of them are all men. Some of them have a mixture of men and women. And some of them have non-binary people in them. So, I'm so full. My life is rich. I don't have to have a lot of money. And I don't have to be a celebrity to know I am rich. And why am I rich? Because of God, because of Alcoholics Anonymous, and because of all of you. So, this is Thursday night. So everybody have a blessed night, a wonderful weekend. For a lot of you, it's a holiday. It's Memorial Day. Every day is a holiday for me because I do what I want when I want. I'm retired and I'm disabled. So I'm no longer in the workforce. Anyway, peace out. And I forgot the salute. Sorry, I had to do it toward the end because I forgot to do it in the beginning. Love you, everybody.